Third attempt. Hey, being Matt here. So, uh, I went to school in 98, 99, in grade 9, and by the following year, I started having the downloading music. So, for example, Napster came out. It was kind of one of those things where bands like Metallica, and then you had Jay-Z and although no, I think it was Dr. Dre actually. A lot of artists were against it, and you had this. It wasn't just Napster; it was Kazaa, which I used, and LimeWire, and there was others. And I thought, well, I don't have a lot of money, and uh, this is gonna be interesting for me. I can't. I have to do it. I have to download that shit. So I didn't have a lot of money for CDs, and I understand you have to support the artist, and I think I tried my very best to do that. And there was, times where I didn't buy CDs, so I got Kazaa and I downloaded a bunch of bands that I really enjoyed, and so on and so forth. So I always got flack for it. You always heard the whole rumors that okay, music stores are gonna eventually close down because this was the new way to do things. Unfortunately, these things happen now, and music stores might close, and businesses are gonna close, and bands are gonna fuck up and not get as much support as they should. And for a long time, I guess I didn't really. It's not that I didn't care, it's just I thought it was easier for me. Someone who didn't have a lot of money to buy CDs. Of course, you could trade CDs or whatever, but it wasn't that easy for me. So I did buy CDs as well, but not as much. I do now. I haven't downloaded anything since my early 20s. So, the reason I guess I'm making this video is the music store HMV is closing. And there's a lot of music stores that I've gone to, but this is the main one in Canada. I'm sure there's others elsewhere. I'm not sure how many there are, but I've heard it's kind of like a chain. And it sucks because it made me realize that it's true. A lot of bands now are changing in a ways of bands are changing now in the ways that music is more accessible to everybody. And the fact of the matter is that it's not just about the music. You can download music and make your own CD, whether it's mixed or download an album and make it your own, like I have. But there's much more to buying a CD. You can get the storyline, you can get lyrics, you can get artwork, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And I agree with that. And also, when I hear other musicians like Gene Simmons and who else and whatnot say that rock and roll is dead, I think to a certain point, yeah, because you don't have to go into the studio. You don't have to make a hit record. You can just go to Cloud, Sound, or whatever, It's kind of like that, right? A lot of that going around too, and I think it's unfortunate that this store is closing as of April, and I know that it's not in every mall in the country where I lived before I moved here. Uh, there was not an HMV at our mall, but when I moved here, of course, there was. And so I go in there. It's cool. It's not just a record store. It has clothes. It has posters and shit like that. It's amazing. So it's closing down, unfortunately. There are other stores like Sam's Records and well, local downtown stores that I can go into and buy my CDs. And then, it's kind of true. What they say through the years, what I've heard through the years, is that eventually it's just going to close down and people can get their music elsewhere and in computers and internet and whatever. And it's a shame, but at the same time, things change. It's not going to be like it was back in 1973 when you can just go into a studio and you can make records and you can sell them in stores and you can just go. Well, actually, people are bringing that back or have brought that back and making records and not making records, doing concerts in bars and stuff now, like they used to back then. I was not obviously born in the 70s or raised in the 70s, but obviously this was the days where that happened in the 70s and the 80s and even further. But nowadays, like I said, people can just put their music on the internet and people can download them for free. And does that make any sense? You get local bands too that do that and they make their own music. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be famous one day. They could be. I'm kind of going off topic here because that's true. HMV is a great store, and there was another music store. I can't remember the name of it, but it was in the town where I lived at, and it shut down a few years ago. It is a shame, but sometimes these things happen, and you just try to keep the music alive as much as possible. As I said before, there's the fact that I haven't downloaded music in many years. I still get MP3 music style things from my internet that I can listen to and stuff like that. But it's just the new thing now. I think it's kind of how it is, and some people are gonna knock on others for doing shit like that. It works both ways, and I can see both points. Rock stars don't get paid a lot, but they do. Dave Grohl said in an interview a long time ago, bands nowadays, this was about like Napster and stuff, bands that make millions are bitching about pennies. So they're, basically complaining that the customers are not buying CDs that they bring out and paying for it with their own money instead of why get it for free. And that's another way that I look at it. Why is it that these musicians who have way too much money are free to do what they want with their money. They're rich. And then there's but people who, but they're complaining about people who don't have a lot of money and really want to listen to a band, like let's say Slayer or whatever. They can go, I have nothing by Slayer, and now I have almost everything by Slayer. Just because of that one program. And yes, and it could be thievery. But that's the way it is. And that's the way it's always been, unfortunately, that for some people. And for some people that's terrible, but for me, I have a lot of shit now that I listen to. It's awesome. From over 14 years or so. Even longer, That's just the way I look at it. And it doesn't mean I'm right, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's just music. It is, music's art, but, I think if people are that poor and they still want to listen to their music, then I know I'm playing with my hair a lot, by the way. If you're that poor, I don't see why you have to be let down, not let down. I don't see why you have to be deprived of listening to a certain band that you love. And that's the kind of way I also look at things. It'll be a shame when HMV closes. It sucks. But that's also the time, I guess. Times change. It's not gonna be like it was 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. That's just the way it is. Anyways, I've attempted to make this video 3 times now. Talk to you later. Bye. Hey, Mean Matt here. So, here's the thing. Back in high school, I went to high school in late 98, starting junior high, and then the next year being, 98, 99, next year being 2000, and that was, piece of shit. Fuck it. In, starting of 99, and actually 98, 99. And by 2000, I think Napster, get your ass out of the way.